Hello and welcome everyone to the Bills Tailgate, brought to you by the Built-in Buffalo Network. I'm Mike Shimbersky, and with me I always have Anthony Sauce God. How you doing?
Mike, it's always a pleasure to come on and talk Bills football right before the game with you and get everybody fired up and get you fired up and get myself fired up. So here we are, talking Bills Dolphins. I'm ready, Mike.
It's what we do. It's what we do. This is why we do this. I love doing this. We get all fired up. We're talking Bills Dolphins today. It's a party. We're doing the tailgate. It's the pregame show for us, but for you guys, we're trying to live it up for you guys on that, doing the tailgate show here, and talk some football. They flexed the game, so we're hanging out Saturday. It's strange. I was expecting a 1:00 game on Sunday, but here we are Saturday. Preparing for this game, and it's supposed to be a cold one. But we're talking Bills Dolphins. Do you got any surface thoughts on what's going on here? Just before we dive into the nitty gritty, what do you got? What's on your mind?
I think that this matchup is obviously so looked at across the nation because it is Bills Dolphins, the two best teams in the AFC East, two teams that are competing for a playoff spot. So the storylines that go into this are just off the charts, right, Mike? But also, I think what Bills Mafia is most looking at this week is because of the potential winter weather that is going to exist in Orchard Park. And I'll tell you what, it is almost a revenge opportunity for everything that happened, of course, in the first matchup in Miami, where I understand some people, Mike, will say, it's a part of the game. They played in those conditions. They didn't play in those same conditions. They were on the sideline where they're getting cooled off in the shade, were able to relax. Meanwhile, the Bills were cooking buffalo on the sideline is what it felt like, Mike. So really, to me, it wasn't exactly – we all know that Miami built that stadium with the intention of cooking the opponents on the other sideline. The way that the sun comes in and how it's all set up, it is a little disgusting when you think about it. But now you got to come to Orchard Park. You got to play in our conditions. Now I understand Bills Mafia will say, we haven't had guys that put – it doesn't matter if we've had guys that play in those conditions, right? We have guys that live in Western New York and actually understand it's cold out and how to survive those elements because it's not easy. And for Bills Mafia, we know it takes a real skill set to be able to sit there for hours and just, not even be one of the players where they're actually on the field exerting themselves, Mike. So I think, again, it's just one of those things that we're all looking at as a revenge matchup. The nation's watching. We're Saturday Night Football. I believe it is so we have a 3-game header, and here we are with the Bills as the final game, Mike. I'll tell you what, this is what we want as football fans, Bills Mafia, and anybody watching this game. This is the matchup to be watching this week.
I think they flexed it on purpose because they wanted a bigger audience. They wanted to make this a primetime game because clearly there's a lot of implications here coming into coming in tonight on Saturday night, moving it here to have us play in front of obviously a much bigger audience is what I'm mentioning here is that the NFL wants everyone watching this game. And it's because of how close they are in the division to try, in the division race. And it is it's such a rivalry. And this is a payback match, or a revenge match, if you say, with what the Bills are looking to do here. I mean, I'm really hoping that reporter that said something to Josh saying that the offense doesn't look like
Jerry Sullivan
it's capable of winning the Super Bowl lit a fire. I mean, he looked angry, and I kind of want that. Now he looks all fired up. I think he's looking to put 40 points up to, just tonight.
A simple one-word response to it doesn't look like a offense that can win a Super Bowl, and he just simply saying okay is all you needed to say. And I love Josh for that because, hey, there wasn't much else to really say. The Jets have a great defense, right? We won the football game. At the end of the day, Mike, we made the plays when we had to. We got the ball downfield, and we scored enough points. As Booger McFarland would say, we scored enough points to win the football game, right? So, again, I just think that the offense has had its woes, right? Because there are things about this offense that we're forgetting. And that's guys like Cole Beasley were on this offense last year. Previous year, John Brown, even with the limited touches that he got, he was on the team. So, I mean, we have a little bit of that chemistry coming back today, Mike. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait to talk a little bit about that more in the game. But I also want to say this, too. Last week's game against the Jets was supposed to be flexed. CBS did not want to let it go because, of course, the Bills hit ratings. And that just says a lot about not only the fan base, but what this Buffalo Bills team is. It is exciting, and that's the kind of stuff you want to hear, that we are the team that we're considering flexing versus we would be flexed out in previous years if we were in those positions. So, again, I like that we have the opportunity to play here on primetime Saturday night. Mike, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, it is exciting. I mean, it's not great for a player in a player's perspective because you got one less day to prepare. But yeah, it is good to see that the Bills are on such a spotlight now. That there's a lot of people watching them that haven't in the past, and the whole football nation is starting to pay attention to them a hell of a lot more than they did in the past. So that is exciting to see. I love that they're starting to get the respect that I always felt like they deserved when they started getting good. So we're gonna jump. Yeah, I meant jump right into the nitty gritty of it that I kind of mentioned earlier. We're gonna get right into tearing this game apart, I guess, breaking it down. First of all, offensive keys to the game on both sides. Obviously, I try to. Obviously, we're Bills fans, so I really don't care about the Dolphins all that much as far as what they need to do. But I always like to look on both sides and see how they should be successful. So, what do you think the Dolphins need to do, and then also our Bills? What do they got to make sure happens to get
let's look at where the Dolphins have struggled in the recent couple of weeks. And number one, they played a great defense in San Fran. Let's not act like they didn't, right? And then they played the Chargers, who honestly with Justin Herbert looked a little bit more like themselves than what we're used to seeing out of Justin Herbert and the Chargers. So let's take a look at that and not think that Miami is by any means slowing down, right? So Miami offensively needs to learn to run the football and have some success with it. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, I think Jeff Wilson might actually be out, Mike. But Raheem Mostert is a guy that had a great success with the San Francisco 49ers until he got hurt in tearing his ACL. And he's been constantly hurt, but now he's with Miami, back with his former offensive coordinator. So Miami needs to run the football, right? Because Tua, as of late, hasn't looked as much like himself because his footwork's been a little lackadaisical. So for me, if you can establish the run for him, right, that's going to make the game a little bit easier for a guy like Tua, who's expected to pass the football, it seems like every single play sometimes for this Miami Dolphins offense. So I think if you look at that, all right, fine. But now you look at Tyreek Hill, what hobbled after last week. They got to find the way to get the ball to Jalen Waddle and kind of, unbalance it a little bit. Because if you ask me, I know that they have both have had great seasons, right, to this point. But Tyreek Hill has definitely been the bigger guy in that offense and has been the main focal point and has been a guy that has made a difference for Miami consistently and made the game way easier for Tua. So I think that they have to learn to go away from him a little bit and maybe get Jalen Waddle a little bit more involved. Maybe get that tight end position with Mike Gesicki going a little bit more today, Mike. But overall, Miami needs to try and run the football. Now, that's easier said than done, right? Because normally I would say that because the Bills' run defense has been a little suspect, but in recent couple of weeks, the Bills have tightened it up. So I think if Miami can find a way to establish the run somehow, that's their only way to offensively win this game. Because again, Tua coming back into Buffalo, wintry conditions. I mean, the guy said, I played in snow and I've seen snow in Alabama. That's not snow. That's like freezing rain with some whiteness to it, right? You got to come here to experience the snow. So again, Tua does not want to be the guy to beat us today. You got to find a way to take the ball out of his hands just to make the game easier. And when he's got to make the plays, he's got to make the plays. But all right, let's switch it up, Mike. Let's go to the Bills offensively.
Yep.
I think offensively for the Buffalo Bills, we've been figuring it out, right? And that's how to get our running game more established and finding a balance between Devin Singletary and James Cook. So again, I like that we have a little bit of a balance going with those guys, but I would like to see more consistency as far as both of them having success. Like a couple weeks ago, we have James Cook go for 80 yards, Devin Singletary go for 80 yards, and, scoring touchdowns. Now, the biggest thing that we didn't do against Miami in the first matchup is we didn't finish drives. We held the ball twice as long as them. We ran more plays. We had entire control of that football game. And defensively, I thought we played a pretty good game for the guys that we had out, right? So offensively, finish your drives this week. I know some people want the 7 points every time, but sometimes you got to take the 3. Tyler Bass has been money. And of course, in these conditions, Mike, it might be coming down to field goals for both of these teams. So I think if the Bills could at least establish field position, move the football effectively, and finish these drives, even if they're 3 points, and at least moving Miami backwards, making it tougher for them to come down the field and score. And how do you do that? You either A, score the football and kick it off to them, or B, you pin them back deep in their own end zone. And how do you do that? It doesn't matter if you always get a first down, you have to punt the football. But if you're punting towards their in your own territory almost, that's what's going to pin them back. And that's what can be the biggest difference. So special teams, Mike, again, something that I'm looking at this week. But offensively for the Bills, let Josh do his thing. Josh is the father of the Miami Dolphins. I don't care about the first loss of the year. The guy's had a great career against them. Even in December, his first ever Offensive Player of the Week came against the Miami Dolphins in his rookie season for Kyle Williams' final game as a Buffalo Bill. So, again, let Josh do his thing. He's definitely got a little bit more of his mojo back. Stephon Diggs playing great football. Let those guys do what they got to do. So, if the run game isn't there, Mike, don't hesitate, right? Because you got Josh Allen, who I believe is 100% fired up, and that look on his face with the okay thing and then like, you're dumb, is everything. He's a competitor. He knows that we have to win this football game. Being right now with 2 wins in our division, Mike, we got to get our 3rd win and get to 3-2 in the division and continue to stay in that driver's seat as far as the AFC East and the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. So offensively, Mike, what do you think the Dolphins have got to do, and what do you think the Bills have got to do?
Yeah. So I agree with some of the things you're saying. If I'm the Dolphins, I hope that Tyreek Hill is healthy, because something that I've watched them do in the past against some other teams and be successful with it is using him all over the field. Really, he lines up in multiple different spots. They kind of move him around quite a bit, but it's those crossing routes of him coming across the middle, especially when Tua was able to recognize that it's man coverage. Because of how fast he is. He makes that one cut, and he's coming across the middle, and that's where he can really burn you, is coming across the middle. The guy can't hang with him no matter what corner. I mean, there's really no corner in the league that can beat him in a foot race. No. So, you hit him across the middle, and you eat him up on that way. Is those crossing routes, and he's got the guy beat by multiple steps. So, you get him involved if his ankle's feeling better. If not, I think because of the weather, Tua's arm just isn't Josh Allen's arm. I mean, that's a given. I mean, not many quarterbacks in this league have the same arm as Josh Allen. So you're not gonna ask him to air it out too much. Not when these conditions are the way that they're going to, where it seems like it's going to be. That wind likes to swirl around in that stadium. So I don't see them trying to. If they do, it'll be like only a few times trying to hit the deep ball. I think they're going to try to make an efficient offense, getting the ball out of his hands quick, and then trying to rely on a run game that might not be as easy as it was, in the past, because like you kind of mentioned, the Bills' run defense has really kind of changed since they've, been suspect. They've really stepped it up, because I think they knew it too, and there were some things that they needed to fix there. So I don't think runs are going to come as easy on this improved Bills defense as far as against the run. So they're going to have to get creative, and it's going to have to be those type of things where, you scheme your star player open. You got to scheme him open. I think you got to get Tyreek Hill involved as long as he's healthy enough. That's my he should be your focal point this week, and it's short, quick passes. Get him the ball early so that he can burn the Bills as far as yards after catch. As soon as he starts getting yards after catch, the guy's dangerous. He cannot. I can't say enough really on how much he's changed that offense, because the Dolphins really weren't even a worry last season, and then you go and you get Waddle, and now you got Hill, and now there's something. So that says a lot for his presence being there. So I wouldn't doubt that that's their goal there, is get him involved early and often and across the middle for the Dolphins. As far as the Bills go, I actually want to go back to Josh. I want this game in Josh Allen's hands. The reason why I want this game in Josh Allen's hands is because of that whole thing that happened with that reporter. I saw the fire in his eyes. I know the guy's motivated this time around. He wants this game. They should have won in Miami. And I think that there's a lot of plays they want it back. that could have ended in a victory if they would have played it right. And they had opportunities to win that game. And this is a better Bills team. They're resilient now. They're starting to get healthy. People are coming back that weren't on. They weren't even able to play in that last game. So the Bills are starting to get healthy. They had a little bit of time to recover. So I want the ball in Josh's hands this time around. I want them to come out throwing. I want kind of a fast-paced offense, especially for the conditions. You think that – because I don't think that's what they'd be expecting. They're not going to be expecting you to come out and try to run a fast-paced offense in these kind of conditions. They're probably going to expect you to, take it on the conservative route and run the ball and try to see if you have success doing that and get a balanced attack going. But sometimes this offense isn't built that way. And in my opinion, that they're the best when they let Josh just kind of do his thing and let him play freely. Obviously hone it in, don't make stupid mistakes, and don't just throw the hero ball when there's nothing there. You make smart decisions, but really I just want to see him coming out throwing. I want to see him coming out throwing often and early with especially Josh's arm. This is the biggest thing I was getting at is Tua's arm isn't the same as his. And that's going to help big time in these kind of games because you got that wind swirling around, you got this or that, but he's got enough arm strength. He's got enough that he can put it on the ball where it doesn't get taken by the wind that much. He's able to throw into that. It was proven. They kind of did it a little too late against New England when it was really windy.
I was going to say that's your best example. Hit Stephon Diggs right, dude. Right in the numbers. And I mean, like the wind moving it a little bit, but like still right on the money.
Exactly. And so you think that you can't throw in these conditions. Well, when you got Josh Allen, you can. And that's all I'm saying.
That's the thing, Mike. For years when we're looking for a quarterback, every analyst always said he's got the arm to throw in that wintry weather that exists in Buffalo. Like guys like Jake Locker, we're talked about in previous years. But Josh Allen was that guy that had that arm coming into the draft. But I don't think that was the biggest factor of why we drafted him. There's a lot of other reasons, obviously. But you're right, Mike. Tua's arm is not anything close. And let's give him some credit where credit is due. The guy is a very accurate passer, makes smart decisions, and he doesn't really turn the football over very much. But that's why this week, I tell you what, when we get to those defensive keys, Mike, I really got something for the Bills. But again, Tua is an accurate quarterback, but Tyreek Hill, I've watched a couple of times, has had to come back for the football. I don't think that you're going to get away with those kinds of plays in this kind of weather, Mike.
Yeah, and I think you're right on that, and that's a great way to jump right into talking about the defensive keys. Let's hit those up. You already kind of started talking about it, so you know what? Let's talk about it.
All right, Mike. Let's get to it.
So what do you got for me?
Well, for anybody just now tuning in, don't forget to hit that like and share. Mike and I are sitting here discussing the Bills pregame against the Miami Dolphins in a divisional game that feels a little like a must-win, which we'll talk about that too. But defensively, Mike, for the Miami Dolphins today is just. I think for the Dolphins, they got to just try to maybe limit one area of the Buffalo Bills offense. And then whether that's the run game or whether it's the passing game, if you could stop one of them somehow, you have a good shot at maybe doing enough defensively to win this football game, right? But I would say get pressure on Josh, but Josh handles the pressure very well, especially against the Miami Dolphins. And he's got a chip on his shoulder playing against a guy like Christian Wilkins who grabbed his crotch. We all know about that, right? So, again, defensively for Miami, I don't think you can shut Stephon Diggs down. I think you just have to focus on trying to slow down the run, get the football back in your possession this week instead of like how it was in the first matchup, right? Because, again, the Bills controlled the football. We beat ourselves. The Miami Dolphins did not beat us by any means. They didn't make enough plays offensively to win you a football game normally. But, again, if the Bills are not able to run the football and Josh is asked to do everything in these conditions, Mike, it could make the game very tough. Whether or not Josh is elite is irrelevant, right? Because that's what defenses have to do is try to slow down one area of your game. And I think for the Dolphins, it's going to be to try to slow down that run game right away because if the Bills run freely, I expect them to continue to run that football. So let's look at Buffalo defensively. No Von Miller, obviously, this week versus the previous matchup that we had against them. But I'll tell you who is back, Jordan Poyer. Now for Miami, I said that they have to run the football. Again, if the Bills can slow the run down, Tua is going to be asked to be the guy. And in these conditions, I just don't think it's possible, right? So I would say rush 4. You don't have to get too crazy with the blitz every once in a while, definitely, because he's been under pressure as of late. Terrence Armstead is at the moment questionable for this game, Mike. So I think the Bills defensively, you just got to slow them down. And if they start throwing the football, just eat them up as much as you can fast, right? Because, yeah, they're going to try to get chunks here and there, but I don't think Tua's got what it takes to pass the ball 15, 20 yards downfield in this kind of weather, Mike. So again, for the Bills defensively, stay sound, don't make stupid plays, know your role, and understand Tyreek Hill is not that scary. We can stop him if we gang tackle and do our job. So, Mike, defensively, what do you think the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins both have to do to win this game?
Yeah. So I like everything you said. I'm going to add some things on, especially on the Bills side, but jumping into the Dolphins side, I say if Josh Allen's going to burn you, see if he's going to just kind of dare him to do it. Don't blitz him, because that's, to me, I think, yes, sometimes you'll get a sack here and there, but for the most part, you mentioned it, he handles pressure very well. And then that's when you're almost asking for him to run, or you're almost asking for him to roll out and then find a big play because he buys himself time, and then he hurts you that way. But he's also, something that he's progressed in is that, if you let him sit in the pocket long enough, he's going to find it all. He's going to find his guy also. But if they can get home with their defensive line and maybe blitz here and there, and disrupt his rhythm, but don't cause him to try to to get out of the pocket and where he's most dangerous. Don't allow him to do that. Just kind of keep him contained, but don't over pursue him, because that's when he makes you pay.
Another thing I want to point out too, real quick, Mike, is that Miami now on defense has Bradley Chubb. They did not have Bradley Chubb to start the season. Of course, they made the trade for Bradley Chubb, a guy that is a game-changing pass rusher, considered by a lot of analysts to be that kind of guy, right? So the Bills offensively, it's good to have Deion Dawkins, right? Because Bradley Chubb can make a difference. So Miami needs to find a way to get him going in order to, really make an impact and take Josh down. Because again, I don't think, like you're saying, you just can't blitz that many guys. You have to consider putting a spy back there, which is not something that you want to put in your defensive game plan. It takes away coverage, or it takes away a pass rusher, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I'm getting at. Don't over, if they overdo this, if they over prepare, that's exactly what the Bills want, and that's what we want as Bills fans. I want them to over prepare for Josh Allen, because then it's that much easier to kind of play. They'll play right into our hand, because then Josh Allen can take advantage of them over pursuing and trying to get pressure on him and trying to get back there because of all the things that he does well. When he comes under pressure, okay, I'm just going to take off then, or okay, I'm going to roll out and I'm going to find my guy. I'm just going to buy myself time. So that's defensively what I think the Dolphins need to do, is don't overthink it. Kind of keep him contained, keep him in the pocket, make him beat him with his arm and accuracy. And you'll have better success. If you start letting him have too much time back there, or allow him to extend the play, that's where he's most dangerous. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to flip over to the Bills. I have an idea, and I actually kind of heard this on WGR earlier, and it was something I've already seen on some other games, and how defenses have handled the Dolphins in these past 3 games that they lost. Even when Tyreek Hill is healthy, the best way to defend him is almost like it's like a hybrid defense that you run. It's a zone, but you're never allowing him to be one-on-one with anybody. He's kind of double teamed, but he's not. So a guy will have him initially, and then he just passes him off to another defender. So a lot of the corners, they'll have a lot of safety help over top. But when he runs that crossing route that I'd mentioned, if I'm the Dolphins trying to get that going across the middle, you got a guy like Trey White that's going to cover him initially, and then only to a certain point though. And then in the middle, then the linebacker is going to pick him up, and then from there the linebacker covers him for only a certain part of the field, and then he gets passed off again to another defender that's in the zone on the other side of the field. So you almost have coverage on him all the way throughout his route, but without actually sacrificing or giving up any part of the field. You still got a guy playing zone. He's going to cover that zone, but he's going to pick him up if they see him coming across. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of decisions that you have to make split second. But I've watched it, and it seems to work. You don't exactly shut them down, but you can slow that whole thing down to where they're not hurting you constantly. Every single play, just being able to get chunks across the middle with Tyreek Hill and make it that much harder to have to find ways to fit it in tight windows and, hopefully force a turnover. That's the goal there. And then as far as like getting pressure on them, I think that even without Von Miller, especially against the Jets, I mean, their offensive line wasn't the greatest, but they just punished Mike White. They got back there, and they got back there early and often, and it was nice to see them be able to put on such a pass rush without Von Miller. And that says a lot. That says a lot to how much Von Miller has probably taught some of these guys, what they've learned, what they've picked up from just being around them. Because none of these guys weren't rushing the passer like this, like they did last week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, AJ Epinesa looks much better. And you got Ed Oliver that's having such a great season for even being injured and then coming back the way he has and produced is fantastic. And Greg Rousseau's coming alive. So, I mean, you got these guys stepping up. And I'd like to see them just be able to rush 4 and still get to Tua so that you're not asking those DBs and your linebackers to do too much. Because if you're gonna have one-on-one coverage with these guys, they're too fast. Waddle and Hill, they put the burners on, and they're fast receivers that can get downfield. And if they're wide open, who cares if Tua underthrows it a little bit? If you're wide open, you can adjust to the ball, and it still hurts if they catch it. So. I'm glad that Porter's back. That's going to be huge for safety help over top because, still rolling with some rookies. I hope Dane Jackson, to be honest with you, doesn't play. I'd rather see Elam or Benford out there. But that's a whole nother thing.
Of course.
But all right, guys. Yeah, I mean, those are my keys right there for defensively. But we're hanging out. We're tailgating. This is the Built-in Buffalo Network. We're doing the pregame tailgate. It's a good time. Hopefully, if you're just tuning in, we just talked about offensive keys and defensive keys of the game. I'm going to get your thoughts though. Coming in tonight, snow's falling. It's cold, and so we haven't really dove into this too much. You kind of mentioned it earlier, but like weather. How much is this weather going to be a factor? It has to. I mean, it's got to be. I just don't think that the Dolphins are acting like they're so prepared for this, but are they really?
So, I mean, Mike McDaniel can have that, I wish it were colder shirt. It ain't going to make a difference. I don't care how much hype you're trying to put behind it. At the end of the day, the weather is a huge factor. Miami was hurled around a heater in a dome last week in LA. Like, to me, that's come on. You're not going to have that same luxury when you come here to Buffalo. So it's 100% a factor, right? Because it's going to change the way that both teams are going to play the game. One team might come out and want to pass the football more than the other expects, but it, of course, is going to usually support the run game being a factor for both squads, right? When we see these kind of conditions. We saw it in 2017 with the Colts. LaShawn McCoy getting the game-winning touchdown. It's just not easy to throw the football in these conditions. Now, here's the other thing that nobody really seems to be talking about. It is a factor for the Dolphins. They're wearing all white uniforms. So, like, how are you supposed to go out there and find these guys when you're passing the football, right? They're wearing all white, and it's going to be white out there. And, of course, it's going to be cold. Now, that doesn't play much of a factor when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. They obviously played in cold weather games last year. They live in Buffalo. They have been through it. It's not anything new. But, of course, playing in blizzardry conditions, lake effect snow, is not it's not something that's normal for them. It is different. There's only one guy on the squad that two guys on the squad that were there in 2017 when we had that big snow game, and that's Trey White and Shaq Lawson. So I do like that those guys have a little bit of experience with it. But, again, this weather is going to play a major factor. It did last year against New England with the wind. And people didn't know if it was going to, right? But again, that forced New England to run the football the entire game. And that took Mac Jones essentially out of the game. But it worked, right? So this is only going to change the way that both teams have game planned. And again, I don't care. Miami's not ready for it. They're not ready for this blizzard. They're not ready for the cold storm of the Buffalo Bills that is coming, Mike. I'm telling you, the weather is going. And the weather, I don't want to hear any Miami fans after the game saying, oh, the weather. No. You got to play in the same conditions like us, right? Okay, there you go. Mike, what do you think, brother? It's definitely a factor.
Yeah,
right?
exactly what happened with the Bills. They got cooked. They got cooked in Miami. They literally they were getting cooked over there. I think I saw steam coming off them at some point. Like it was hot. Everyone was sweating. They're
literally going out of the game to rehydrate and come back in after cramping. Like that's you can't prepare for that.
No, you can't. But I think. it's sometimes it's just as an equalizer though. As far as with the cold weather, it can be. You can prepare as much as you want, but playing in the cold is not. It's not easy.
No.
Sometimes the hits hurt a little bit more.
The ball hurts a lot more when it hits
I was
your
about
hands,
to say when that
especially from
ball's coming in,
Josh.
it's a brick. So you gotta. It's not something that both sides are really going to have an advantage. I think the only slight advantage we kind of mentioned already is just you've been in it. You're living here in Western New York. Your body's used to just being in the cold. That helps, but it doesn't make the game any easier.
No.
For either side. So this is going to be a tough fought game. I hope they do a good job at cleaning up the fields, and shoveling off the snow when they can, because I just want it to be, as easy as possible, I guess, so that guys can actually get open, receivers not slipping and falling.
I'd like to see no injuries from both sides because of the weather. Both sides. Right. I don't want to see any injuries.
And exactly what I'm getting at. Yeah, I just don't want to see guys slipping and falling, hurting themselves because they're trying to run a full speed route and they're just sliding all over the place. But it takes me back a little bit too. I remember I was at the game when they played the Indianapolis Colts, and Shady McCoy ran for that touchdown. I loved being there. I loved seeing that and watching that happen. This could be in one of those games that's in the making again to be a very good game, and then just getting able to watch them do that, and hopefully they pull out a win. And it's just as entertaining as it was that year where it snowed a whole bunch when they were against the Colts. But yeah, I think that it'll be more of a factor for Miami in the way that with the swirling winds, we talked about it, Tua's arm, Josh being able to throw in those conditions could be an advantage. And so, for me, I'm hoping that's the case, and that the weather is actually more of an advantage and not just a factor that we got to deal with.
Mm-hmm. It definitely doesn't make this game easier for us by any means, but we definitely have the upper hand just because we are the home team. This is supposed to be somewhat advantageous for us.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. I just don't know how much of an advantage. Mm-hmm. We'll have to see. If you guys are just tuning in, make sure you smash that like button. Again, this is the Tailgate on Built in Buffalo Network. We're doing the pregame show. We play tonight, Saturday night, flexed primetime game. Hey, man, something that I did want to talk about too, and, it seems like they're getting the whole band back together. We brought Beasley. Beasley is back. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I know they have till tomorrow to activate him. They didn't activate him today. Because I kind of thought if they were going to do it, they would have did it already. But they have till tomorrow if they want to add him to the 53-man roster for tomorrow. Actually, I just don't
know. You meant today.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to today. I'm sorry. But I don't know if he's playing. We'll have to see. You'll have to look on the list. What do you got?
Well, I'll tell you this, Mike. So as far as Cole Beasley, the first thing that I want to say is that, welcome back, Cole Beasley. I'm happy to have him back. I never had any issues with any of the off the field stuff, with the COVID stuff. I really never, ever, ever read into players' personal lives or personal thoughts as long as they're not doing anything harmful, right? So it's good to have Cole Beasley back. But also I like the way that he answered a question, and he said he wishes he handled some things differently. But Bills Mafia, I want you guys to think, if your kids are being, treated differently at school, or you're being treated differently because of your thoughts on something that is, it's personal to you, how would you necessarily feel? It wouldn't exactly feel good to you. And that's exactly what I definitely felt for Cole Beasley. And I thought his way of talking about it was sincere and genuine. So I also think too that it was great when he said that they fell in love with Buffalo when they came here, and that he wanted to get back to that, and that everything on the field was always positive. There was really never anything negative. But I also like this too, Mike. Cole Beasley and John Brown have both come back to this team by request of Josh Allen. Josh definitely has chemistry with John Brown and Cole Beasley, but Cole Beasley, Mike, I think people are forgetting that maybe we don't have as many big plays this year because Gabe Davis, I think, has been hobbled by an ankle injury. I really think that that's why he's had a little bit of a downturn in some of his, in some of his drops and stuff like that. But Cole Beasley opened up that field for big plays so much more, just because on third and whatever, You had to respect that Cole Beasley could get it. You had to respect that Stephon Diggs could get it. And then you have to look at, okay, Dawson Knox could. That made this offense more versatile. And Cole Beasley, we know how reliable he was. I mean, he was second team All-Pro in 2020 and Josh's finishing in second in MVP voting that year. So Cole Beasley adds to this offense something that I think that we need, and that's just one more consistent option, because I love Isaiah McKenzie, but he has made some drops. We know that. Dawson Knox too, Gabe Davis. But Devin Singletary, right? So we can't afford those types of mistakes, especially in these games going forward. So I think Cole Beasley coming back to the Bills was just something that they definitely needed. I know there was a lot of talk about Odell Beckham Jr., but the guy is probably not going to play the rest of this year. I honestly think he's going to sit out the rest of the year and look for big money next season. So Cole Beasley, great guy. John Brown, great guy to have back in this offense. Guys that are obviously not going to affect our chemistry in a negative way or our locker room demeanor in any negative way. Those guys only add to the positivity, Mike. So I'm happy to have Cole Beasley back. I'm happy for Josh too, because I watched some of his tape already in practice. He looked sharp. And again, I know that he didn't get it going with the Tampa Bay Bucs. It doesn't matter. He was nothing but successful with the Buffalo Bills, and he has been instrumental to Josh Allen's growth and success in the NFL. So welcome back, Cole Beasley. Sauce God and Mike are happy to have you back. But Mike, overall, what did you think about Cole Beasley?
I think it was a smart signing. I mean, he was able to talk to Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott on the phone. They were able to patch some things up. He said this isn't how he wanted to leave, and he's happy to be back. I don't think that he would have done bad in Tampa if he stuck it out. The thing is that I just don't think he wanted to be there. It just wasn't a fit for him. And, part of that is of how he felt at home at Buffalo. He spent quite a bit of time here. He grew close to Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs in that whole locker room. I think the locker room itself is happy to have him back. They didn't want him to leave in the first place because a lot of those players had his back. They might not have agreed with everything that he was doing and everything that he was saying, but it didn't seem like they alienated him. The Bills still included him in everything. And it looked like he still got along with most of the players on the team while he was playing. It didn't affect on-field performance. I think that was more injuries than it was, and game plan. So bringing him back is smart because it's very much the same system. It's very much the same offense that he left. And this is just what goes to show you when you're trying to make a run for the Super Bowl, especially when you're headed into the playoffs, this is the kind of moves that a team makes that's just smart. You have John Brown, you have Cole Beasley. These are guys that already played in this system and have chemistry with Josh Allen and John Brown also too. He was a 1,000-yard receiver not too long ago playing for Josh. So to have this amount of like wide receiver 2 caliber players on a team on one offense is a very smart move. Now you got John Brown, but you still got Gabe Davis that's got a lock on the wide receiver 2 position. But you can still plug and play with Isaiah McKenzie, Cole Beasley, and John Brown and throw them all over the place, all over that, anytime you want, plug them in. So I think it's a smart move. I think it's a really good thing that he's back on the team, even if he doesn't get the same amount of production that he had. Brandon Beane even mentioned that, he's kind of filling in what they thought they were going to get out of Crowder, but Crowder went down with injury. And so now you don't have that veteran that's playing the slot, because Crowder was supposed to split time with Isaiah McKenzie. And so right now, I think what they're going to do once they finally decide, if they decide tonight that they're going to activate Cole Beasley, then you got somebody that can split time with Isaiah McKenzie, and now it's a change of pace because if you're covering Isaiah McKenzie, you're going to have to get ready for some speed. He's going to hit you probably on a deeper route, and it's going to be a fast route that you're going to have to win a foot race. Now with Cole Beasley, if he's out there, he's going to read soft spots in the zone, and he's going to sit and lurk and try and roll and move around with Josh Allen to provide him a target on third downs that are lengthy, like 3rd and 12, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, or even longer. He's got a knack for finding the soft spot in the zone and then just making himself. He turns his whole body to Josh and allows him to have a target to throw to on 3rd down. that a lot of times moves the sticks. And I think that's what they're looking for, is a spark to get those third downs that they're lacking. So I think it's a great signing.
Yeah, and I think, he's going to obviously get acclimated back into this offense much easier than it would take a player that hasn't played here. So Cole Beasley definitely could have a shot at playing tonight. I'm not sure, but we're going to have to find out, Mike. We'll see at game time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I did also want to get your thoughts on, this technically, and if you guys are just tuning in again, this is the Tailgate Built in Buffalo Network. We're about to move on to something I really want to talk about, and just kind of feel the waters with how you're feeling about this here. Because is this a must win? Because technically it's not. If you think about it, if the Bills lose, it doesn't really hurt them as far as leading the division. They still lead the division. And so they're much in the playoff race still. It doesn't take away from their playoff chances. But what it would do is it could possibly knock them out of holding the threshold on the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. And I know we all want it to come through Buffalo. So what's your thoughts on that? Do you think the Bills are treating this as a must win, or is every game a must win going on?
I think it's definitely a must win, just because you want to obviously even the matchup between the Miami Dolphins and the Bills for as far as divisional goes. So we would get to 1-1 against them this year, and we would also potentially have a better divisional record should we win out. I think it's a must win also just because, again, you don't want to lose the driver's seat. You win today, you technically clinch a playoff berth, which I think we all in Bills Mafia were expecting that, but nothing's guaranteed. So winning today would also give you the playoffs. And you're right, then you can relax a little bit, right? Because you're already going to go to the big dance, right? But now you can focus on playing your game and tuning a few things up and trying to win down the stretch to control, obviously, the AFC East and potentially home field advantage. So for me, I don't know if the Chiefs are going to lose any of the remaining games. It's tough. I know they play the Broncos, I believe, once more. So for the Bills, if you want to have that number 1 overall seed and play Kansas City at home, should that ever be the matchup, you want to win this football game today. And again, it's just because we're already on that little bit of a streak, right? We're winning ever since that Minnesota game. I think that we're kind of getting back to our game. So right now, you don't want to slow down your momentum. You want to keep that kind of same consistency going. So winning today would obviously give you a little bit more mojo, knowing that you're still really controlling the AFC East at this point. But hey, that would move Miami to 8-5 or 8-6, I think. And then, of course, then the Bills would be 11-3. So 11-3 versus 8-6. I mean, that right there, the Dolphins would have to win their remaining 3 games, and the Bills would have to at least lose. They'd have to lose all 3 in order to not clinch the AFC East. So right now, you win this game. And if you win next week and Miami loses next week, the AFC East is officially back with the Bills again for a 3rd straight year. So to me, it is a must win. I know maybe not statistically it's a must win, but yes, it is definitely a must win. You want to keep that momentum going forward. You don't want to slow down.
Yeah. If I'm a Bills player and if I'm a Bills coach, I'm preaching these are must-win games, and they're must-win games because the Bills are right now, they're in the driver's seat, and you don't want to lose that control. Because I think that's huge. I think that's why a lot of teams have been successful going into the playoffs, sitting at the number 1 seed. You got home games. Everything's a home game now, and you don't have to worry about that. You don't got to go anywhere. Everyone's got to travel to you. You're used to the climate. It's yours to lose, So they got to be thinking, no, some teams they kind of want to rest everybody and kind of coast into the playoffs. Not this time around. You got too much out at stake here. You got, you're trying to make a run for it all. So these are all must wins coming, starting today with the Dolphins and moving on. And even looking forward, each week needs to put another stat in the win column because you're just not sure coming into these last few games that are left what's going to happen. Any given Sunday or Saturday on this one, but you just never know. So you just want to worry about what you can control, and that's each week go in and put 110% in and come out with a W. And so for me, yes, all these games, including tonight, is a must win.
And don't forget, we still play New England once more, and we also play the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati on Monday night, and they're hot right now. So, those are two games that are going to be tough ones, especially the season finale. The Patriots could be still contending for a playoff position at that point. So, they're going to definitely bring their A game to Orchard Park, and they don't want to continue to lose to the Bills. So right now, win as many as you can so that you don't have to really worry about any of those set scenarios. Stay in the driver's seat. You stay buckled in. You keep the cruise control on, and you don't slow down for anybody. That's what I'm saying.
I like it. Speaking of cruise control, we're going to cruise right over to we do the segment every pregame show on the tailgate. It is our projected performer of the week. Who do you think is going to have a big game? What do you project?
Well, Mike, I got to play this real quick because I really think we'll be hearing this. Third down. Greg Rousseau will be my projected performer of the week because obviously he got it going last week. With the absence of Von Miller, you're telling me that guy doesn't have it in his head? I got a chance to be the guy and be the superstar and step up. He turned a lot of heads last week, but he should have already been turning heads because he's already been playing phenomenally when he is on the football field. And I think that we missed him even when we had Von Miller. Greg Rousseau adds a different dynamic just because of how tall he is, his length. He can get his hands up and stop you from passing over. And Tua is not a tall guy. So, I mean, if he's got his hands up, he can stop Tua from getting the ball downfield 3 yards, which is all he's going to throw for anyway. So, Greg Rousseau, to me, is going to be the biggest playmaker on both sides of the football for the Buffalo Bills. I really think he's going to be the projected performer of the week. Mike, what do you got?
I like it. I like that. I like that you're staying with you went with defense, and I'm actually gonna stay on that same side of the ball. And I like what you're saying. I think those guys, not even just Rousseau, but Epinesa and Oliver, they've all kind of stepped up. I really like what they're doing on the defensive line. It shows when you have a veteran presence that knows how to talk to these guys and teach them a thing or two. And then obviously that also goes to the coaching as well. But I'm going to go with Jordan Poyer. Actually, okay. The guy's been a focal point of this defense. I don't know why they haven't extended him. Who knows how that's going to go? But all I know right now is he's a Buffalo Bill, and he's been playing lights out even after his injury. And coming back on that field, he's shown that he's such a core piece to this defense. Especially not having Micah Hyde, he's still playing well with the safeties that they have out there, Hamlin. And sometimes Dean Marlowe, so they have to rotate a little bit on that other side, but he's been an anchor, and you just see it out there because he's able to give some of those young guys some help. When you got Elam out there, and then you got Benford, and he's able to give that safety help because he's such a pro at playing that position that. You can rely on him to help with, especially when a team's got receivers like the Dolphins do. So I think that Poyer should have a great game like he has been, and maybe he'll even get an interception. I'm hoping so because the guy deserves it.
Excellent, Mike. I love it.
But anyways, you got we're grinding here. We're almost to the end of this little party that we got going on. Yes, you got the injury report.
Yes, sir. The most up-to-date injury report that I have is Elijah Campbell is out for the Miami Dolphins with a concussion. Eric Rowe, their safety, is out with a hamstring injury. River Crawcraft is out with a calf injury. Now, Terran Armstead at this moment, I'm not too sure if his status is any good. I know Tyreek Hill is good to go for this game. But for the Buffalo Bills side, the only two guys that we got out this week are Ryan Bates and Jordan Phillips. Here's who will play. Reggie Gilliam, Ed Oliver, Matt Milano, Josh Allen, Cam Lewis, and Mitch Morse. And I'll tell you what, that is huge for us, Mike, having Deion Dawkins out there. I know no Ryan Bates. It is what it is. You got to go forward and do what you got to do. So that is the injury report at this moment for the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins game.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, if you guys didn't catch that, like he said, with the Bills getting healthy, this is great. That's such a much shorter list. Than it was before. And next man up as far as the offensive line. I know Bates is sometimes that's a big deal depending on what kind of scheme they're going to go out there to try to execute this week. Especially Bates is better in the run game, if you want my opinion. Mm-hmm. But as far as what I want him to do anyways, I'm all about the air tonight. I'm just all about it. For some reason, I just want him to air it out, and I want him to put up like 100 points. So So that brings us right to our final thoughts. I like this segment. Anthony and I, we get to just kind of chill out and kind of end the segment here and end the tailgate party that we got going on here at the Built in Buffalo. Again, guys, remember, smash that like button. We're going to just kind of chill out and give our final thoughts to the game tonight, get ourselves pumped up, and send you guys on your way to enjoy this game.
Amen to that, Mike. So final thoughts for me. I got the Bills winning this game 24-16. And also, too, I want to say this for the Bills and for Bills Mafia. We wanted this matchup. We wanted it to be cold. We wanted winter conditions, and we got it, right? So what more could you ask for? You have an opportunity to stay in the driver's seat and get revenge on Miami for doing everything that they did in the previous matchup, right? This is what it's all about. You guys want to be on this stage? You got to show up tonight, get it done, play your game. Don't play Miami's game. You play your game and win the damn thing. Only way that we could ever lose any football game with this team that we have, Mike, is when we beat ourselves. So today, guys, just do your jobs, stay sound, stay focused, stay calm, and let's win this freaking game, Mike.
Yeah, I like it. Like I said, I always get pumped up. I'm getting ready to get off here and go watch this game. I am confident. I'm feeling confident, to be completely honest with you. So I'm going with a score of I'm gonna go 31-17. I think that the Bills can actually put up some real points, take advantage of the slight advantage that the weather gives, and let Josh do his thing. That's what I'm saying. Air it out, let him throw. Because what I don't want is them to try to stick to the run game too long and then realize, oh, hey, we could have thrown the ball quite a bit because Josh can handle these conditions. You already know he can. So don't sit there and try to get the run game going too long. Like, don't rely on that too long, and then you start throwing way too late in the game. Don't let it get away from you before you start changing things up. Let him try throwing. Like get it going early, and make sure that they have to respect the fact that you can pass the ball. And then that'll open everything else up. So that's what I want to see. I just want them to give him a chance to throw in these conditions because I know that he can. And so, for me, that's what I got.
Excellent, Mike. I love it.
Yeah. So, hey, guys, that's our final thoughts. If you got anything else to say, throw a comment in there. You guys got some final thoughts of your own. We love to hear them. You can always talk to me, especially on Twitter. I'm Mike Chimberski at MIKOL2531. You can always catch me on QB Sneak. That dropped earlier today at 1:00 on Saturdays. And you got Anthony Sauce God and his show, The Sit Down. So you can always catch him there. He's always doing a whole bunch of things for Built in Buffalo Network, and obviously always with us at the tailgate party for the Built in Buffalo Network. And then we also got Christmas is coming. So, we got the fan shop. Make sure that you swing by there. There's some cool shirts. There's some memorabilia there that you could really get, and it's probably a good present to give out to somebody. There's some really cool stuff there. But that's all we got for you guys. It's been a great time. Enjoy the game. As always, go Bills.
Go Bills.